So let me give you some info about this situation. I'm 18 years old, 17 years old when this happened. I live in the Netherlands, and I work at a local supermarket, where I work as a stock clerk. Don't really know how to translate that. Almost every week, we have a discount on certain items. It's called the bonus, and sometimes when you buy 2-3 items from one brand, you get some special product from that brand. A beer glass when you buy a 6-pack of that brand. A Lipton iced tea hat when you buy a certain amount of bottles, etc. That week, when you bought 3 items from this kid's brand, you get this rather creepy-looking doll. This is basically what the story is based around. And oh boy, am I glad we don't offer kids toys with these products anymore. Just like everyone in this subreddit, I never thought something like this would happen to me, but here we go. It did. I was working in the afternoon on a Thursday like usual when a kid walks by slowly. Of course, I don't think anything of this as I am just doing my job. She walks by about 3 times, and the 4th time she asks me if the dolls are out of stock. I explained to her that more will be coming that evening and that she would unfortunately have to wait. She asked how late, and I told her that they would probably arrive after closing time because of a delayed shipment, so she would have to wait until the next day. She walked away with quite a sad face, and I felt bad for her. Although I continued working, I didn't really think about it anymore. Fast forward a bit to around 2 hours later. It's almost closing time, just 5 more minutes, and I was pretty tired. This is where the entitled mother comes in without the entitled kid. She looked angry. The mother stomps straight towards me and quite angrily asks me if I was the boy that told her daughter that she couldn't have one of those dolls. Me, being tired, looks at her with a confused face, and after processing the question, I remember the kid that asked for the doll. Me. Yeah, that's me. Entitled, Mother, do you know you made my little girl cry? Me. I am sorry for upsetting your daughter, but the dolls are out of stock and won't arrive until... She cuts me off. I don't care about the time it arrives. You will get me a doll right now, or I will make sure you get fired. I will do everything to make sure more dolls arrive as soon as possible, but the store closes in 5 minutes and she cuts me off again. I want to look in the back. I don't believe you. She was pretty much screaming at the moment. I saw a colleague of mine in another part of the store look up from the work he was doing and listen to where the noise was coming from. He just continued doing his work, and I did not want to call him because I thought I could handle this myself. Nah, I bring the entitled mother to the back where we keep the dolls when we have them. I normally never let people into this section because it's only for employees, but I didn't want her to go super Karen, so I let her in. I grab one of the terminals. It's a small device that we use to keep track of the stock in the warehouse and the quantity of products we order in the next shipment. I showed her that there are currently no dolls in the store, and before I could show her the order we placed for new dolls, she grabbed the terminal, which is worth around 1,400 euros or $1,600, and throws it on the ground. I immediately asked my boss to come to the warehouse through my earpiece. The entitled mother knows she can't touch me or cause me any harm because A, I am under the age of 18, so it's basically child abuse, and B, there is cameras everywhere, and she already knew that. But apparently, only point A interests her, and she proceeds to kick all the wagons of goods we have standing in the warehouse. She also threw 6 packs of wine and beer on the floor, which made a horrible mess. After about 1 minute of this constant fear in me, my boss and 3 team leaders arrive in the warehouse to take a look at the situation. My boss was, well, not happy with the situation. Apparently, he took some kind of fight training because he grabs the entitled mother in a certain position, so she is pinned on the ground with nowhere to move. One of the team leaders is asked to call the police. Within 20 minutes, the police arrived at our warehouse. I was surprised that the woman did not attempt to kick or slap my boss because she has been laying on the ground for this long. The 2 policemen are guided to the office by 2 team leaders, while me, the 3rd team leader, and my boss are still in the back of the store. After about 10 minutes, which felt like an eternity for me, the policemen and team leaders came back, and one of the policemen put the woman in handcuffs. After that, we all go to the office. The entitled mother is giving me death glares the entire way there. She also kind of whisperingly swears at me and calls me all the names out there. When we get to the office, I feared I would have done something wrong that would indeed get me fired. And this begins with the entitled mother having the right to talk before me. Of course, she lies in a pretty big way, literally saying that I touched her kid. The officers probably already knew that was not the case and asked some questions about that to me. I was struggling to find the right words because I have never been in a situation like this, and I was on the verge of crying. I told them they needed to check the camera footage from 2.5 hours before this. They found the moment where the girl came up to me, and I didn't put a finger near her. The boss complimented me for keeping enough distance due to COVID, but that didn't really come through to me because I could only think of what could happen if they did not believe me. I knew the proof was there that I didn't touch the entitled kid at all. That was nice to know. The policeman knew enough and took the woman away from us, probably off to the police station where she deserves to be. My boss and team leaders compliment me on handling the situation and come with me to the warehouse to help me clean up. My boss noticed I wasn't in a good state to continue working, and he gave me a can of soda and told me I could go to the break room to take a break to cool down from this. Eventually, he just sent me home because I was too emotional from all the threats the WFI Breineman was constantly telling me. When I came home, I told my parents the entire story, and they were shocked. They asked me if I wanted to continue working there, and I did. There was nothing wrong with the place itself, just very rarely the people that buy stuff there. My boss and I later made the rule of not doing this with dolls and children's toys anymore because this happened a few times before, not this bad. It would solve the problem of entitled kids, and I have never seen one ever since. So, a little background. I left home after my aunt confronted my mother about the lack of punishment on my brother for filming me change and sharing that video with his friends. Mother called the police on my aunt, and now I am currently in a youth home, which no one knows where it is, except my aunt. My family had cut contact with her and my brother. So, into this story. I have been going low contact with my mother and no contact other than leaving my brother on red. My mother has been spamming my phone, telling me she will let me go home if I apologize for making a scene, and to apologize to the rest of my family for making them go through this. I ignored her. She later calls me, and here is how it goes. Entitled, "Mother, come home. Your tantrum has gone too far. You need to apologize and get a grip and come home." I just listen. I do not reply. I said, "Come home and apologize now." No. I cut the call. She calls back after 15 minutes. I pick up and listen for a while until this hit, entitled, "Mother, come home now. I don't want to wash dishes, do laundry, and cook while I work. It's tiring. You used to do all that when your grandma was not here, and she's not here, so you have to do it." I stay silent. Entitled, "Mother, do you hear me, you ungrateful child? You better." I cut her off. Me. "No, you listen to me and you remember. I will never go home to you, and I will never go near you and him ever again. Take this as courtesy notice. I am no longer your daughter. You will never see me or hear from me again." I hung up and blocked her number. 2 days later, my aunt messaged me and told me my dad was at her door. I have not seen him since I was 5 after my parents got divorced on the grounds of his affair, and my family hates him for that. My aunt was pissed that he showed his face at her door. He asked nicely to know where I am and to go and see me. My aunt, of course, in her fashion, laid it onto him about his affair. He took it and apologized after and asked for my whereabouts. My aunt messaged me to say if I was okay with my dad knowing where I was. I told her it would be fine if we met at a cafe or restaurant nearby. So we met today and had a nice breakfast. He asked me what was wrong and why I had run away. I thought he knew, so I said, "What do you think?" He said the entitled mother told him that I got scolded and grounded for something and was mad, so I ran away. And it was probably teenage angst according to the entitled mother. I was dumbfounded. I told him, "That's not even close to why. I told him everything that happened after, what she did, more like didn't do, and how she reacted when I tried to tell her I felt unsafe. He was mad. He was mad for the fact that he didn't know about it earlier and for the fact my entitled mother tried to lie and get him to force me into going home. After the meeting, he told me he was going to the entitled mother's house and confronting her. He says he will take me away with him and sue her for abuse because some of the things she did to me are clauses for emotional and psychological abuse. He is also saying he's going to cut off my brother's education fund and transfer them for me to use. He left, and I don't know what happened afterwards, but I think he is going to speak to his lawyers with me soon. My mother, who, with this sentence, showed her entitlement for the first on a whole new level, actually. So, for a bit of backstory, as a child, I got into Pokemon quite early. My first special memory of Pokemon is from when I was about 8 or 9. We were on holiday in Italy with my grandma, and of course my grandma knew I really like Pokemon cards. So, in classic grandma fashion, she got me some Italian packs. The release of the EX Sandstorm wasn't too long ago. Lucky me drew the really cool-looking Raichu EX from this set. From that day on, I was hooked. No birthday, no Christmas, no holiday at all passed without me wishing for some booster packs or deck sets, etc. My collection grew and grew. About 5 or 6 years ago, I switched over to collecting Pikachus as my main focus. I know it's very basic, but it comes from that first Raichu. Due to the fact that I had to buy all my cards myself by that time because, of course, I was not a kid anymore, my collection grew slowly. I could only treat myself to a few special Pikachu cards every few months if I got some leftover money from working on the side. Lately, I had to take a break from really collecting. Money was quite tight, and I had to focus my spending on my education. I am studying full-time for my bachelor's degree and will soon finish my degree. Now that the background is laid out comes the entitled part. I had the opportunity from my study program to go abroad for 1 year. I took this chance gladly and went to study in Zagreb for almost 1 year. In that year, unbeknownst to me, my parents went through the attic to clean it out and sell or give away anything they didn't want. Now, to be clear, I did not put any part of my Pikachu collection up into the attic. The value of those cards monetarily and all other cards sentimentally is way too high to just put them there. Once I got back home, I went looking for my collection where I left it in my room. I was looking forward to going through it again and enjoying all the memories. I was also thinking about how I would treat myself to another edition in a few months if possible, and also what I would really like to add to it once I finish my studies and start working a full-time job. Sadly, I was not able to find my collection anywhere in my room, so I went to my mother and asked her if she had put it away somewhere. In all seriousness and without any emotion on her face, she answered, "Oh, those silly old Pokemon cards. I gave them away, honey. Some kids in need will surely be happy to play with them." The only thing I could stammer due to being so dumbfounded was why she did not ask me before doing so. And here comes the legendary line. "Oh, you know I didn't think you would mind helping out some kids in need. And after all, you are an adult. You should not have any toys anymore anyway." After that line, I just went to my room and curled up on my bed, thinking about all the lost memories, fun times, and, of course, my hard-earned money. One of my most prized possessions in the collection, apart from the sentimental ones, was the full-art Mario Pikachu, which in itself represented a sentimental connection to my childhood, but I will not get into that now. The post is pretty long already. And just to clarify, I don't really care about the money that was lost. Of course, it hurts, but the cards themselves were way more valuable to me than the monetary value behind some of the cards. I never thought about selling them at all. Even when money was super tight for me, I just went to work more. I hope this story is somewhat interesting compared to some of the others.